Good morning or good afternoon to the recruiter who will be looking at this. So this is just a demonstration of this assessments that I was required to make. Um, this assessment over here. So I'm just demonstrating. It's easier to just talk about it. And I have a provided documentation for it additionally, but I figured maybe it's easier if I have a video. I'm gonna try keep this video quite short just to, save some time. But for the system, we're required to make like a hierarchy system, like a hierarchy sort of system to organize the organizational sort of structure of APs. And obviously, must have the ability to add edits, deletes, employees as you wish, and you'll be able to display a hierarchy graph. And these are various additional technical requirements. And I will say off the back right now is two of these requirements I have not been able to make, which is the hosting on a website and on a hosting service, and also the hierarchy system to actually display. I'll get into that just now. But yes, this is just demonstration of this system. So obviously there are very numerous employees in the system. Employees will be assigned employee roles. So this is the employee sort of entity over here. And you have the employee role, and each employee is assigned a manager. The sort of architecture that I'm using is ASP.NET on the back end. So as you can see over here, we're using a web API. And for the database, I'm making use of a SQLite database, which is a relational database as well. And just mostly because, it's in the name, like SQLite, it's quick to set up. It's not going to be a bunch of issues. And I was also thinking when hosting this, which is also, a problem that I'm facing right now, is that it's not going to cost as much as something additional options that I was going with is a SQL Server database. So right now I'm using SQLite and the web API on the back end. On the front end, I'm using an Angular app. So this app over here, I'll demonstrate just now. So the packages that I installed to sort of facilitate access to the database because you sort of need to be able to interact with the database is Entity Framework, which is a package from .NET that they provide for us. So this is the package that I'm currently making use of for sort of communication between the database and the web API. So that is the basic architecture structure. You have the employee entity over here that I just explained. So how the web API is usually structured is a MVC sort of pattern, which is a model view controller pattern. And how it works is when you receive a request from when you receive a request from the Angular, from the front end, come in over here to the controller, and the controller sort of acts as I mean, it's in the name also, like controller. So what it does is it will probably go and fetch data from perhaps like a repository, which is what I have over here. So go to the database and I'll sort of fetch data from the repository. And then it will package it in whatever models that I have, which is over here. These are the repositories that I have. We'll package it we'll fetch it as a model and then we'll package it as a view model just to abstract some data away from the model. And that's how it generally works on this API. So if I just explain like one or two sort of control methods in the controller. In the action controller, there's two controllers, the employee controller and the employee role controller. So the requirements were to sort of add employees, but it also said you have to have an employee role, and I decided to also make that credible. So because it said that in the requirements that you can only have you can't really hard code data. So in order to allocate a role, you'd have to create one. So I figured that I should just apply the roles as well as employees. So there's two controllers for the employees to manage the employees data and employee role data. So to go to just two methods that I explain over here, like a request comes in, and action results. These are just search parameters over here. So for the list, this is the the method or the endpoint that is retrieving the list of employees. And obviously, with the list, you have certain sort of parameters that you want to search by or filter by. And I'll just go over here. This is just the parameters that you can search by. So pagination is also applied over here, which I'll also explain just now, which is why it's wrapped in this class as well. So it will fetch the employees in the repository. This repository is brought in on the constructor, so dependency injection over here. And we'll fetch this using this method. I'll head over to that method just now. And I'll just wrap the contents, sort of um, skip data or take the various information from the page that's required. So this is just the pagination that's being applied over here. And we'll wrap it in pagination, of course, and send it to the client side. So that is like the basic method. Also, this one is very similar to how I explained it just now, and as well as adding over here. This is the various logic. I don't want to get into this because this video is going to be very long, but this is just the basic sort of structure of the API. I'm going to get into this just now, the hierarchy, which is a problem that I'm currently facing. So on the repository side, it's an interface, and from this interface, you're able to create various like instances of classes. So from this interface, we'll create a class of whatever um, methods that you want to apply. Over here, it brings in the DB context, which is something that will make use of an entity framework to sort of interact with the database. So think of this as our like database context. And from here, you're just able to like access data. So adding employees, go to employees over here, adds it, checks, saves the database. And yeah, I won't get into detail with all of this, but that's just generally how it works. This is the pagination over here, switch statement for the filtering, and also over here, it will sort of query like a Lambda query over here just to sort of get the correct specified data. So the main issue that I've faced with the hierarchy is it's quite difficult. This actually reminds me of some stuff that we're doing in school, or we did in school, data structures, algorithms, trees. So it said the requirement was it to be displayed as a tree. So I created a method called getTree. And over here, for this tree, like what I'm required to do basically is build a tree. Um, There's something I've done before. I think I've built a binary tree in one of the lectures before. They taught us how to build a binary tree, but the edge cases for this particular sort of scenario is a bit special, which is the current issues that I'm currently facing. So I made a method which will be able to sort of hold the tree and sort of add employees, and what it'll do over here, it will sort of in this build tree method, it will sort of like add the manager. So employee has a manager, and you want to allocate that to the list that you're going to be retrieving from the hierarchy over here. So what it does, it builds this tree, but it also builds it recursively. And then I'm just facing issues over here to try and add the sort of employees that the manager will receive. Just to show you the model for the tree node. This is the hierarchy structure, so it's gonna have the manager name and employees. So I'm sort of having problems to be able to add this recursively. That's the main issue that I'm having. So that's the issue with the sort of hierarchy. Let me go on to the front end over here. Front end is also a Angular, that's another project. Front end is the Angular app that I'm currently doing over here. And Angular works very similarly to a MVC sort of pattern. This is the service in which I'll be sort of interacting with to retrieve data from the API. So the API link is over here. And yeah, for various interfaces that we're going to be making use of. And just to go to one sort of example over here is the um, sort of employee list view over here. So without getting into detail of create a constructor, these various methods are just applied that will be interacting with the service. Subscribe, similar to like observables, how it works with observables. And these are various methods. I don't think I should go into detail with that. I think I should finally actually demo the system. So how the work is, currently there are no employees on the system. In order to add an employee, you should probably create a role. So let's do that. I'll just say CEO over here and the CEO of the company. So you'll be able to add that, and as you can see, it's added. You can also add more, so like COO, the COO of the company, and you're able to update various data, so like COO, CIO. I'm not sure if that's actually a thing. So that's just the various CRUD applications that you can add over here. You can also search, so CIO. Yeah, you can search it and reset it, and you can filter by high to low alphabetically. So that's how the user roles. So created a user role. Now we can actually add employees to the user role. This is the picture URL. So I'll just put in the picture. I'm just saying over here. Birth dates. Make it a quick one. Salary. Add employee number. Make it that. So that's CIO. Obviously, there aren't any employees on the system right now, so let's just add this. And as you can see, it's been added. Obviously, there's no employees, so it's not going to show. So that's how it basically functions. You can update it as well. So maybe perhaps change the user profile, change my name to Val or my second name, and just to have a look here. I think it's fine. Uh, Birthday over there. These are all I can. Maybe I should say CEO or okay, I can say uh, CEO. And over here, as you can see, the manager over here isn't allocated. So when I do that, you can't really. So the logic that's being applied onto the backend is that, as mentioned in the sort of description over here, that a position employee cannot be in a position where they're not a manager, so that logic has been applied in the backend. So as you can see, that logic was applied on the backend. So that's how it basically functions. And obviously, you can also delete this. So head over here, delete employee, refresh it, and yeah, that's how it functions. So initially, this is where the hierarchy would have been, and I'm trying to implement it. This is due in a couple of days, but I'm hoping that I can spend the next couple of days trying to fix this issue and the hosting issue. And one of the reasons, so how I sort of had the logic on the front end over here was um, here was the hierarchy. So basically, it would have fetched data from the sort of service over here, and would have had this method, which is get hierarchy, and what it would have done, it would have populated this tree with the sort of structure that I already specified over here, over here. So it would have populated that tree in a very similar sort of structure. Let me just head over to Python. And what it would have done on the front end is sort of in a very similar way, recursively populate this tree or sort of bulb this tree. That's what it would have done on the front end, but currently trying to solve that right now, and hopefully I can solve that before it's done. And one of the reasons why I sort of did this quickly is because I'm actually working on a system for EPIs. Our third year project is building an e-commerce website for EPIs. So that's currently, the system that you see over here is actually the system for EPIs that we're currently making use of. Iteration 5 for the system is due like in a week and a half. So I'm trying to crunch this and also sort of do this assessment at the same time, which is why I sort of submitted everything early. So yeah, um, I'm gonna try and fix this in the weekend and see if I can fix this employee hierarchy. And also why I couldn't really set up my hosting. I've hosted on GitHub. I mean, I pushed it on GitHub, but hosting, I have a bit of an issue over here. It's quite expensive to host on AWS and Azure, which is the two sort of targets that I have. I've been trying to research other ones that I can host on. But for like I already had like a account before, and I depleted all my credits for Azure and both AWS. So I think Azure has like a student sort of like credit thingamajiggy where for the first couple of like I don't know, like first they'll give you credits for free as a student, and I have depleted those credits already, so I can't really host on Azure anymore, and AWS is also a bit expensive. For just I'm not sure why it's costing a lot because I think I could probably get it for free over here, but I don't know why it's actually charging me, like owing me. So I don't want to, I don't want to receive any bills. So I'm gonna try and set that up, and I'm gonna send this email. I'm gonna send a submission in a few days, and hopefully all of this is resolved. If it's not, then I'll just specify in that email. But yeah, the two main issues, I'll be honest with you guys, is that I wasn't able to host it properly and I wasn't able to complete the employee hierarchy. I also submit all of the compiled sort of solutions onto Google Drive. Everything will be specified in the email, and obviously the documentation will be attached in the submission email as well, and also it's hosted on GitHub. So thank you for your time and